Hey, welcome to another episode of Eavesdropping.
Caught me off guard there. Now listen, I'm usually the one who drives. Come on. Remember stories we were talking about? I'm usually the one who drives. Why did you take over? Victim story, huh?
Yeah. Oh, number two. If you didn't listen to the victim video, go ahead and watch. No, not the victim one.
No.
If you didn't listen to the story video, watch the one on stories.
Yeah, we haven't talked about victim yet, but it's coming.
And we're two chicks that spark the heart. We also spark the energy. This is my colleague and dearest friend, Mary Pat Knight, CEO of Leaders Inspired and a leader of leaders.
And we have Cass, Fitz and Mary. All right.
Or Fitz. She calls me Cass, Fitz, you, and hey.
And Kathy.
Oh, and Kathy. Only my mother calls me Kathy. I don't want to.
Okay.
Call me Fitz. That's what they know me in business. And that's a good. Make sure that you subscribe to this and also go to our community called theleadingheart.com, which is free for you to join. It's a way to connect with us. We have been discussing the two words, love,
unfair,
and fear. And we've been helping each other kind of get through it because I am sure if you are like us, the average person, you're probably addressing fear at least once a day, if not more. And sometimes you have those days where you're consumed by it. And let's give some description of what fear is.
Yes.
I feel it in my gut. You might feel it when you open up a piece of mail, or something isn't going right at work, or you had kind of a lousy conversation, or you're fearful for your kids,
or a surprise,
It's just when we think life. Why can't life just be a bowl full of cherries?
Well, you actually are saying something really important. I think a lot of times fear is provoked because we have a certain expectation of how things are supposed to look, how things are supposed to roll out, and it's based on our history. It's not based in present day reality. It's based in our history. When something comes our way that is so unexpected because our worldview and our life view has said it has to be this way, that's big fear.
Yes. And we all have it, and it doesn't matter how emotionally intelligent you are, how advanced your awareness is. If you've been through your hero's journey, we just have it. In fact, I've many times have said, am I not done with my hero's journey? I think I've done I wrote 3 books on my hero's journey. I think so. And I hear, no. If you didn't have the contrast of fear, the egoic self, the muck as I call it, I wouldn't know what love was.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know what loving myself was. I wouldn't know what it meant to love, and have love friendships and in colleagues that I really express of love from my heart to their heart in the work that they do. So this exercise was given to me by a friend, and I realized that there's a lot of TED Talks and also some work on it on YouTube.
Yeah, but I want to give you a bow to this. So you were given a question. So Fitz was given a question. And because Fitz is a deep dive into what can be possible for the human being living in a loving world, so that she did the deep dive on herself. And the questions expanded from 1 to 5. Yes? 5 or 6?
Yes,
yeah.
Pretty much.
So we didn't stop with the first question, which is a really darn good question. There was a much deeper look. It's kind of like if you've ever done the lean exercise of the 5 whys. It's a root cause analysis, 5 whys.
Yeah.
Why, and then you give the answer, and why, and you give the answer. By the time you get to the 5th why, you're actually at root cause. And then you can take action. It's kind of like a dandelion growing. If you just pull it out, it's going to grow again, but the 5 whys get you to the root of the dandelion. That's actually the work that you did. And so it evolved into beyond the one beautiful question that was gifted to her by a friend to 5 that are going to super serve you.
Yeah, and again, I did this on my own. I even told her, don't get involved. I'm going on my sacred retreat.
Not gonna
Don't talk to me. And I didn't go and check the internet to see how do you do this. I just let wisdom and the love of, the vibration of love come into me and help me with that. So the real question is, and this is what you'll see if you go search for it, but don't try to do this yourself first.
Well, actually, you know what? Why don't we'll link at least the 5 questions in the comments?
Yeah, good idea.
We'll link it below.
What would you give up? And so, if you're a leader of leader and you're trying to go someplace, what would you give up? If you're in a marriage that might be kind of rocky, what would you give up? If you're going into a new relationship, what would you give up? If you're going to head down a new path of something that is different and a change and kind of scary, what would you give up? If you're obviously, my son just had a baby, his first baby this past weekend. He's going to give up a lot. What would you give up? And I thought, that's a funny question.
It's very broad.
Right? And at first it was like, oh, well, I would, what would I give up? And I thought right away what I wouldn't give up. Well, I'd never give up, the people I love, and I'd never give up my dog. And it was like, I'm going to go a little deeper. It's what would I give up, not what would I keep. And so I began the very first deep dive I did is I took a look at how I was raised and the stories that I had and the stories that I adopted. So if you haven't watched that video, go there. And then that still wasn't getting it. I was still kind of like, what is it? And I forgive me because I have the notes on my telephone here. So this, again, we don't pre-plan these things. You're eavesdropping on a conversation that we're having kind of a
I want to interject if you don't mind, because I'm a good interjector. So yes. I'm going to interject. Okay, so the first question is, what would I give up? Just when you first heard that, were you surface? What would I give up? Oh, I would stop having drinks on the weekend.
Right.
Or I would, give up pasta so I could lose 5 pounds. So there's the quid pro quo. I'll give it up so I can get. I'll give it up so I can get. But I had the thought, and it's interesting, and I think you went through this in your deep dive. I'm sure you're going to touch on, maybe not in these words, but in the energy of what you're saying. That what about those, or maybe you have experienced a ripping away? You had to give up. What would I give up?
Yeah.
You didn't have a choice.
Yeah, which is true in my situation a lot. I didn't have a choice, and
you can't stay surface then.
Yeah. And for many of you that don't know it, just go up to the Heartbeat series and look at the trilogy of the books. The first one, The Power of Bold Love. It talks about my brain break that I had in refusing to give up certain things and facing things, and not being one that really had depression or anxiety, and it kind of just crept up on me as I was taking care of 2 elder parents. But as I was digging deeper to this, forget the stories. Okay? Why are the stories, right? So then it was like, what would I have to give up? And I thought, to be my authentic self. And I would have to give up the validation of me and the validation of all of me. I can be validated in business. I can be validated as a mom, as a grandma, as a daughter. But I've had a hard time with the validation of my gifts.
So in other words, you would have to give up requiring that validation, or you'd have to give up validating them yourself?
So I would give up looking for people to validate me. And the reason why, when I looked at this, I was like, I want them to validate me. And so for many of you, if you do know me, you know that I'm an extrasensory person. I'm just gifted with the sight of seeing a lot of things, hearing a lot of things, very intuitive. That's why I teach intuitive leadership. And I have had a difficult time reconciling that with my life. So, I say there's the business head of me, there's the overly sensing scent of me, there's the artsy fartsy part of me, and how do I combine them all? I've been able to do those two, but this one, from the time I was even in, early days of Sunday school, it just wasn't understood. And so therefore, because no one understood or accepted it, all I did was seek validation, seek validation, seek validation. And along with that, I also had people cut me out of their lives and cut me out because of the experiences that I have with my ability to see, I guess. And so what I would give up is validation.
It's validation. So let's put a pause for a second. This is so beautiful.
Because that pushed me to fear.
Yes, of course it did, because then what's left? So those of you who, and I believe we're all blessed with gifts, so I'm just going to say those of you who don't believe you are blessed with gifts, okay? And you also know it, as a leader of leaders, your gut rules, whether you want it to or not, it does. However, take a little bit of what Fitz was talking about. Hers was validation. And she had stories from her childhood that invalidated her experience, be it religion, be it family, be it society, whatever. Where does this happen to you? Because you're going to do this exercise. So where does this happen to you? So I'm thinking of a couple people I know who I work with who are incredibly strong leaders of very robust businesses. And they came from simple means. They came from families that did not have that kind of success programmed into their lives. And still they prevailed So what have you, if this applies to you, what have you had to be able to give up, not sacrifice, not, self-flagellate, not overimpose your ego, but what perspective or what knowing or what society saying about you? I mean, honestly, so I'm talking fast because I have so many ideas right now. I'm popcorning. But what have you had to give up? So, for instance, I'm thinking of one or two people who lead firmly, beautifully and firmly from the heart, firmly. And would somebody judge them as being too firm and being a jerk? Would somebody judge them? Could you give up your feeling about somebody thinking that you lead too hard? Could you give that up?
Right.
All right, anyway.
And we've actually had that conversation because I said, boy, I wish I could sometimes be that woman that was just a little snarky, just a little bitchy. I don't really get bitchy and snarky. I also don't think I get angry anymore, but I think it would serve me. And I also say, oh, but wait a minute. First question, what keeps you from love and pushes me to fear? The fear that they might not validate who I am. So I better be really good in business, which I am, because I have this fear I might not be validated. I better be really good at art and being funky and being different and wearing the red glasses because I need to be validated with that. But then when it comes to that special stuff, I'm like, ooh. So I kind of, the thing that pushes me to fear is the validation.
Turning back to you.
What type of fear do I have? I've got the fear of somebody is going to say, I don't get this. It scares me. I don't believe it. It's evil. And I'm talking about innate intuitive intelligence and intuition. And more we're getting very open to that. It's something that I am now teaching within the business world. But I've heard that. I've had great losses over that. And so, what do I give up next is the question if I stop the fear. And boy, I give up playing that old story over and over again.
It's a comfortable story.
Oh, a real comfortable story. I give up, I guess I would give up caring that I was being discounted. I would give up caring that I was being judged. I would give up controlling it. Because if I can work to validate everything, keep it quiet, talk about it, talk a little bit about it, not all of it, because I don't want to scare anybody.
And then it stays special.
And then it stays special and makes me special. And it's not that I'm special, it's just there. It's like I can't change the color of my skin.
You
right?
are special.
I know I'm special. But it's like it's so much a part of me, I can't change the color of my skin. And there's a lot of us that say, God, if I could just be different or this, and it's part of who we are. And I have to validate that. So the next question is, how does that which you would stop doing, how did it serve me? Well, if I sought validation, I could sleep good at night because I figured I checked my little list off of, okay, they think I'm great, this. Show up strong, Cass, It served me well. It served me because it got me into the egoic trickster mind and I could live those stories. However, when it came to my gut, when it came to my heart, I didn't feel good because I abandoned myself.
Yeah, and then you also were talking yesterday, this is really important, and I don't hope I'm not stealing your thunder here. When we were checking in on this, you talked about you also were able to create a they versus me.
Yes.
Which keeps us safe. If I have a they and I'm a me, be it, I don't care, be it politics, be it family, let me label you as the they. Right. But here's the thing you're not going to like to hear. We talked about this yesterday, right? When you they, you victim. So when you they, guess what role you get to play? The pattern that you get to go into, the pattern of energy that you get to go into, not the persona. I'm not labeling you, calling you a name. You get to go into victim energy because there's always someone out there, that's persecuting me in some way.
Yes.
Not validating me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is so true. And when I look at my own situation as I began to do this deep dive too, I do have a lot of labels that I put on people. And I think it's because of that. If I can label them, I can sort them. If I can sort them, I can figure out exactly what maneuver and strategy I must do so that they validate me, because I don't want to be abandoned.
And then you stay
And
safe.
ultimately, I go through, 5 full decades of my life and end up being totally abandoned in a lot of different ways. So it's like, love keeps going, sorry, we tried to give you that lesson and you just didn't pick it up. So we have to keep giving. You ever have those things that keep showing up in your life over and over again? They're a theme. It's because you haven't figured it out yet, which is what is really good about this. The mantra, there's another one that says, what would this energy of abandonment say to you? This energy of being
like non-validated, abandoned.
Non-validated. It would say, well, you better be on time. You better get it right. You better know it. You better make sure that you've got the opinion to it. You better show up strong. Oh man, my dad used to tell me that. Show up strong, Cass. My ex-husband used to tell me that. Show up strong, Cass. Or my dad would say, be like a duck, smooth feathers up on top and paddle like hell underneath. And I'd be like, yeah, show up strong. No, maybe I should just show up vulnerable and say, ouch. Oh, couldn't do that because I wouldn't be validated if I said ouch. So that was what I would tell myself. You got to show up strong. And then how did this serve you? Well, I did become a very strong leader. I've done great things as a leader. A lot of people will say, oh my gosh, the stuff that you have done in one lifetime is unbelievable. But I did it off of the motivation of being validated. And that's where this exercise showed me how wonky it was. And so what I really needed to learn was, what would I give up? Just living without the pressure of being validated. Without that pressure of having to be strong all the time. And it's been great. I mean, there was a time in my life I didn't cry. Now I cry. I can cry all the time. I don't care who I'm with, I can cry. There's people ask me, how you doing, Fitz? I tell them the truth. Lousy today. Great today. Because I don't need them to validate me. And since I did this exercise, which really is even fairly new, it just kind of really clicked things together of what I was working on. Next question is what do I gain if I let go? I let go of the stress of having it be
and what do you
perfect.
gain?
And I let go of, you know what, if you don't understand how God made me and the way that I see, hear, sense the world, the visions that I get, the things that I do that maybe some people would say, oh, wow, to, but everybody really could, I think, do it if they tapped into their innate intuitive intelligence. I just get to be me. And if you don't resonate with it, that's okay. So let me repeat it. That's okay. That's one of my mantras. That's okay. I can just be the light. If they don't want my light to shine on them, they can just walk away. And they do walk away sometimes, and that's okay. I am very, what I gain is I have integrity. So now all of a sudden my gut, when I go there into my inner being of who I am, grab that wisdom on those most fearful days of those situations where I'm wrestling this, I can get to my center core, the seat of my soul. And so that's what I gain when I let go.
Yeah.
And so I'm not abandoning. I mean, I abandoned myself through all of this.
Yeah. We always do. That's what ego does. Ego teaches us. This is what ego says, you abandon yourself because I got you.
Oh, yes. And you got me. You and your itty bitty shitty committee that's serving pizza and beers in there.
I got you. And you're like, all right, yeah, I'm kind of tired of you getting me.
And it does feel good when you go to ego, but it's not long lasting. And so what happens, I always find out I feel good if I go into that egoic story and I'm resenting or I'm projecting or I'm just telling the story, right? I feel good until I lay my head down in bed at night and all of a sudden it's quiet. You ever get those and you're like, oh, there I am again.
Yeah.
There's the seed of my soul again. There's the spark that's wanting to spark some love through my system.
And then what happens then with your head down on the pillow when you're kind of in this tension, this war, that's going on. I love war, I guess I would call it, kind of this tension that's going on. And you replay over and over again what stories you told all day long. Then the shame comes.
Oh, yeah.
And you got to start all over again.
And then she calls me in the morning when I have coffee and I go, I don't know, I'm not doing too good. I'm doing great, you'll say. Well, here's after I got to the very end of this, which is what would your inner knowing say? I call my inner knowing wisdom. Long story behind that, but here's what wisdom said to me: I am complete. I rely on my own heart for validation. So therefore, I really never will be abandoned. Friendships can come and go as they do sometimes, relationships, relatives, family, whatever it is, situations, opportunities, they can come and go. It's just part of the ebb and flow of life, the weather. Rather than trying to be validated by the external, I just am complete now. I go to my heart for validation and I'll never be abandoned. And so what do I gain? I gain that I know I'm loved. And I give my love to all. And some accept it and some do not. However, simply being in the light of love, the light of the love of my heart, I can change the world.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that's powerful. And, so it just is a wonderment of how this question sparked all of this. And so, complete the sentence is one of the very last questions. So if I answered all these things that cause fear, I would receive what I would receive being complete, finding the love within. And that's the power of this love and fear conversation that we've been having. When we're talking love, we're not talking about the romance and the endorphins flying and all of that.
The quid pro quo.
Yeah. We're talking about the energy that we were made with, however you define it. God, universe, prana, whatever it is, everybody's got it. Everybody knows that there is a love that we have on the inside of us and we have felt it. And unfortunately, it's those stories that we talked about in the last video that shuts it down and we forget the story. So we have to kind of reinvent what that new story is. And for me, as I go forward with this, now that this is kind of a new question that I've had, and I've done a lot of work on myself over the years, I'll spend the next year just continually working on, am I abandoning myself? Am I validating myself? And so when I sing, that's where wisdom said, start to sing what it is you want. Validate yourself. You love to sing. Just sing. And so that's where my heart was at with that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I'm glad we recorded this because I need to listen to it at least every day.
No, it was really quite a journey, and so we've as we puzzled through this, because Fitz didn't start with all the questions. She leaned into them, and we also, after she came to the other side of this brainstorm, and the questions actually blossomed even more from there.
And actually, that's true. When I finally did come out of my sacred retreat and said, okay, you can talk to me now. Interesting, you said, what if you posed the second question of what would you give up, but what would you prefer? And it was interesting. I couldn't even get to there yet. I was still kind of unpacking the suitcase of this validation and this abandonment. And when you brought that gave me the energy to rise up. We always say we help each other rise up. We help each other spark. So what do I prefer? I prefer to be me in full confidence. And, if I could have been, as we started to say earlier today, the wise soul I am today at the age of 30.
We actually were saying that. I was like, why couldn't? Well, and this is the journey of the human.
Right.
This is the human adventure, which frankly is speeding up like crazy.
Yes.
So we take a look at our kids. Who they're like not middle aged yet. They're still young adults, and we're like, well, young adults. Almost.
Mine are getting there.
You're getting there. She started earlier than me. But we take a look and we say, wow, to be at their age, knowing some of the stuff that we know now. And I guess that's just human. I bet you my mom said the same thing.
Yeah. Except I think things are changing now. I do believe that this generation is more open to that which is the unseen. They're more open to listening to their intuitive self. They're more open to even feeling their gut sensing. And, this is one of the things that I'm devoting the fourth quarter of my life to. And I started this even before this reckoning of this question and what would I give up. But I said, I'm going to change the stigma of woo-woo. Because, 10 years ago, anything like this would be like spirituality, new age. It's not. It's It's the energy that's within us that propels us. And this generation is coming forth much braver and more courageous. And I want to change woo to WOW, wow, working opportunities with wisdom. And everybody find their wisdom. You can't find your wisdom unless you love yourself.
Yeah.
And so now, since I've done this, the wisdom is just flowing.
Yeah.
I mean, the visions, whatever. And that'll be the next, why don't we go to the next one after this? Click subscribe, and we hope you join us for episode 3, and we'll talk about the mirrors of ignorance and arrogance.
Ignorance and arrogance. So wrapping up, fear and love, actually, there maybe that's actually 2 mirrors as well. Which one do you want to look in? And take an opportunity to look in the mirror of love, because fear is going to be there if you let it be there.
Yeah. So subscribe. Also join us at theleadingheart.com and our YouTube channel, Two Chicks That Spark the Heart. We're sparking that energy within us and within you. Thank you for eavesdropping.